Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And men, please come back. Please come back, men. According to the New York Times, women don't know where the men have gone. Where have the men gone?
They ran away screaming. Can you blame them?
They did. Isn't this ironic? 10 plus, probably 15 years of demonizing men and traditional masculine men, and now women are wondering why men aren't dating them, where the men have gone, why they're afraid of taking a chance. I mean, seriously.
Wait a minute. I thought women didn't want to date men anyway right now because if they voted for Trump.
I know, right?
I thought they were having like a sex block thing. You know, we're not dating you, we're not sleeping with you. Or did they get over that already?
Sex strike, is that?
Yeah, did they get over that already? You know, and then you have all these women too, and you keep seeing videos of it where they're like, I'm so important that no man should take me out on a first date to these places, and they should be making six figures so they could treat me like a queen. And I'm like, what do you do? Nothing except take their money.
Fans.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's like, what do you bring to it? Well, I'm pretty. And a lot of times they're not. It's like, you're mid at best. You know, I mean, temper your expectations, sweetie. You know, you keep seeing that. And then you have these girls that are like, you know, my husband or my boyfriend works hard, and they work really hard for what they have. I'm fine with it. You know, we are good. We don't need a six-figure income. You don't need to be like a multimillionaire. And you keep seeing that. And even that movie they have out, Pedro Pascal and Dakota Johnson or whatever, that one's about her matchmaking with rich people.
Yeah, I think women had, for a while, they had very unrealistic expectations of, you know, the perfect man, and the perfect man was, you know, all about her. Like, you were supposed to be all about her, but you know, she didn't have to be about you. And
but that's what I'm saying. It's like, you can't expect somebody else. If you're expecting somebody else to do that, you better be doing the same. Like, you want them to do this. What about you? Why aren't you making that kind of money? Why aren't you treating them like a king? Why aren't you paying for everything? So I'm like, if you aren't going to do it yourself, you can't expect everybody else to do the same.
Right. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You'll get a woohoo if you do. Hey, if you're tired of not seeing us in your YouTube feed, because there's a lot of discussion about this, and we're going to do probably a whole video on it here later today. YouTube is changing, and you're not going to be shown our content as often as you were because they're using AI, I believe.
Even if you subscribe, guys, doesn't matter if you subscribe. Our handler said, if you subscribe, it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that they're going to get notified. Just FYI.
So if you want to get notified, go out to our Substack, news.clownshishtv.com. You can sign up for notifications. I'm going to put together a daily kind of rundown of all the videos we've done for that day. You do not have to pay. There is a paid option. There is paid content, but you do not have to pay. You can just sign up to get notified of us, you know, posting more video content.
Or just go check our page, because we do it like 3 times a day at least.
Wait,
the videos, guys.
Yes. Check our page on YouTube. We've got the Clownfish TV, the full episodes at the top of the YouTube page. You're going to have to be a little more proactive because YouTube is not going to
just us for any people you want to.
It's everybody. It's everybody right now. I'm comparing notes with other YouTubers, and it's not just. I mean, people think it's just in our space. It's not just in our space. That, like, it's hit everybody, because basically YouTube is looking to maximize profit, and they're going to push the stuff that maximizes profit for them. Okay. They don't care about the. I'm going to be honest. They don't care about the individual.
Let's go back to the topic.
Let's go back to the topic. So there you go.
We're going to do a video explaining that more. It's something that Neon's been following for quite a while. So
yes, I've been following it. Men, where have you gone? Please come back. Well, you chased us all off, is what happened. And I'm going to be honest. As a man, thank God I found Geeky when I did, because I would not want to be dating right now.
I'm going to be honest. I don't want to be dating right now either.
It's just insane. And then all the extra steps and the extra rules and the unrealistic expectations people have. You're basically, you've got to be a perfect person.
Well, I think that's towards women too. And I'm going to say that too. Yeah. You know, there are a lot of women who think that they deserve a 10 or 11 out of 10, when they themselves are like a 5. And the thing is, it's like, but the flip side is, there are women are constantly held at a standard where you have to be pretty. Like, one of the reasons I don't go on camera is because women are expected to be pretty, and I'm not giving. Well, thank you, but you're biased. I'm like, I just I don't feel comfortable doing it because I'm not going to be a 10, and people expect certain things. I think that's on both sides. I think
you're solid 9.75 in my book.
Your book, yes. Good answer. But I'm just saying that's across the board. Like I've seen so many guys being like, well, because they friend zone me and stuff like that. Women get friend zoned too. Just FYI, many times friend zoned. So, except for with Kneon, but he's my best friend. So there's that. But, it's on both sides. I think people need to, understand that you're not going to probably land someone that's a 10 out of 10. But you don't need to. There are a lot of people, worthwhile people that have other things about them, both male and female, that they might be like a 6 out of 10, but they might be like a 10 out of 10 other ways. So, look where it counts.
Yep. There we go. Okay. So let's see what they're, thank you very much. Let's see what they're saying.
10 out of 10 in my book. Anyway.
Thank you. Men, where have you gone? Please come back. And look, there's a lot of discussion about this because, there's the whole talk of men going their own way. And I do think, in some cases, men take it to the extreme. But I think it's also look, it's palpable for years, for at least 10 years, probably closer to 15 years. It's not been acceptable to be especially a straight white guy, in society. You're
literally the devil.
Guilty until proven innocent, and even then they keep an eye on you. You know what I'm saying? It's just we've been demonized and all over the place. It's
not straight white men entirely. The goalpost keeps moving, and it's like basically it was straight white men first, and now it's basically any straight guy. Even if they're not white, they're next to the worst. You know what I'm saying? It's just the goalpost keeps moving. And it includes so many more people. But just guys in general are demonized. And it's not right. It's bullshit.
So she's having a hard time finding a guy now. She said, I'm 54. I've been dating since the mid 80s. I've been married. I've been a mother. I've gotten divorced. I've had many relationships, long and short. I remember when part of heterosexual male culture involved showing up with a woman to signal something: status, success, desirability. Women were once signifiers of value, even to other men. It wasn't always healthy, but it meant that men had to show up and put in some effort. That dynamic has collapsed. We have moved into an era where many men no longer seek women to impress other men or to connect across difference.
Why would they? That's awfully caveman of this woman. It's like men would show up with women because it was a signal to other men they were important. And I'm like, wait, so you're basically saying men were interested in women because they were trophy wives?
We were told that was wrong. Okay,
yes,
so
right.
They perform elsewhere alone. Oh, geez. They filtered us out. No, let me tell you, as a guy, what has happened. We have been demonized. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing to have traditional masculine traits in current year. If you are chivalrous, it used to be chivalrous. If you now you're a misogynist. A
lot of women still do like it when men are men. I got to tell you, you will find probably more women. You hear about the ones who don't, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to find more women want men to be men.
I think deep down they do, but the media has been, and again, there might be something more insidious going on here. There might be something going on that has to do with potentially with depopulation. I don't know. That's a conspiracy theory, right? But I'll throw it out there because the norms, the heteronormative system, the biological system that works, that has kept the human race on the planet for a very long time, has been completely upended in recent years, right? It's a bad thing to be a heterosexual male, to have normal heterosexual male desires, to have the traditional role of a heterosexual man, which is you lead your household, except, I defer to you, of course. And yes, but I'm saying just to be a dad, to be a leader, to be the support system, to be the worker, to be all these things have been frowned upon, right? And now it's if a man wants to excel in the workplace, well, he's keeping women out or he's keeping women down.
Well, I think here's what gets me as a woman. It's I think that people should get equal pay for the same job.
I believe that. I believe in that.
But sometimes men are just better at certain things than women. Not saying women can't do certain things or men can't do certain things, but there are jobs or different things that men excel at, and there's different things women excel at. There's nothing wrong with that. We got ourselves to the place where there's everybody has been trained to think there's something wrong with saying that, but the reality is the reality, correct? And the thing is, I think you're going to find most women are on board with this, but then men too, they have the whole fear because you can be accused of stuff. the reason they're keeping themselves is because, one, you got these bitches out there being like, if you don't have six figures, keep moving. You got these, women with unrealistic expectations. You got men who are probably afraid of being falsely accused, which has been happening.
That's a huge part of it.
And even Henry Cavill had said a few years ago that he wasn't really into dating because he doesn't want to do the wrong thing. People were at conventions and celebrities have to keep their hands to themselves. They'll act like they're hugging you, but they're not, because they're not allowed to, because they could get in trouble for it. It's just you don't know what you're allowed to do. You're supposed to ask consent about everything.
You're not allowed to make the first move, or you're harassing someone. You're not allowed to be interested in someone, or you're harassing them. You're practically a grapist. You're great. And I'm not talking about people that actually are legitimately shitty people, right? I'm not talking about
them.
We're not talking about actual perverts. We're not talking about actual predators. Just talking about being a man and being interested in a woman is enough to get you in trouble now. And then if you do get into a relationship and it goes south, right, and you break up, well, guess what? You're having to pay child support. You're having to pay alimony. There are cases where, you want to talk about people being taken advantage of and people being abused, where women, set their sights on a financially successful man. This happens a lot. And then they get divorced or something. And then the man is basically stuck paying for everything, right? He's stuck paying for everything. He doesn't even get the benefits of being married because, she's taking the kids, she's taking the house, that's not fair. It's really not, unless the man did something heinous, I think. It's not fair that she can walk away with everything and destroy his life.
To be fair, though, there are instances, I know for a fact from a ex-family member, where a dude could just take off and go do what he wants and ditch his kid and move to the other side of the country and not even let his kid or his ex-wife know. So he has there's that there too. But then again, a woman could do it too, because there are dads that have custody and a woman can do the same thing. But it isn't fair that in courts, they usually side with the moms. They
usually side with the mom, even if she's a piece of shit.
That's just it. If she's a good mom, okay. But if she's a piece of shit,
but basically, look, I'm not saying that men are saints or whatever, but men have been, because of, I'd say because of shitty men. I think because of third wave feminism.
I think it's that. I think it's feminism, because there have been a bunch of men who didn't even do anything, but they're caught in it, and because the media perpetuates this shit. Social media perpetuates this shit, and it's if you're a feminist, okay, for example, I got told I wasn't feminist because I was married and had kids, and I'm like, well, you can still be a feminist and believe in women should have equal rights and all that stuff, and not. And still be married. It's just this bastardized idiocy of what feminism is. It's driving these women insane and driving them the other way. And then guys are going to avoid it. Why would you want to go anywhere near that? You can't blame them.
Yeah, because and they're probably looking at their own situation. Maybe they didn't have a great situation growing up, and they're probably like, well, I don't want to wind up like my dad or my uncle or whatever. Or they're just looking at other stories. Here's a guy who had everything, he got married, whatever, and just his life is in shambles now. Here's a guy who went on a date, thought it was consensual, and now he's, being brought up on charges. And it might have been,
but she said it wasn't later, Right. Because she got mad. That's happened.
You're not allowed to, like I said, you're not allowed to be a man. You're not allowed to be assertive. You're not allowed to be, and so what's going on is men are basically keeping to themselves. I think a lot of ways, especially younger men, because they grew up with this, right? It wasn't normal when we grew up. It was men were still allowed to be men, and there were always assholes. There were always, chauvinistic jerks or whatever. That's, it's a trope, right? But that was a very small percentage of men. But
how come it's acceptable? It's acceptable to discuss how women are abused or women are this or women, the Me Too and all that crap. But it's not acceptable to talk about the fact that there are women who lie. It's not acceptable to talk about the fact that there are men who are abused. And, you're not allowed to talk about that. One's okay and one's not. And that's a problem. I got a daughter and a son, and I don't want to see my son treated any worse than I ever want to see my daughter, but it's okay to talk about it if it's my daughter, but not if it's my son. That's bullshit.
Speaking of which, since we have one of each, our son, actually, I remember even in grade school, and this was years ago, told us that he thought the girls were getting preferential treatment because of, STEM or whatever it was. Certain classes, he could tell that the girls were getting preferential treatment because they were pushing that. And I'm all for, again, equality in terms of opportunity. I'm all for that, right? but I don't think anybody should have necessarily a leg up, and it shouldn't come at the expense of another group. And we have seen this. I mean, even in the workplace, if you're a middle-aged white male, you were done. I mean, maybe not so much now, because it seems like a lot of companies are like, well, shit, these guys knew how to actually do stuff, especially in tech. They're like, we need to hire these guys back. But like,
yeah, but for years there, the DEI shit.
Yeah, it was your, what they say, your stale, pale, and male or something was what that was actually going around the HR departments. Again, a lot of these HR people were feminists or indoctrinated into it, and they were hiring, the quote unquote right kinds of people, unfortunately, who didn't know what the fuck they're doing.
Well,
and so many of these companies crashed.
The bad side of that is that there were women or people that were minorities that did know what they were doing, and then they got hired, and then everybody said that they were, right. They were a diversity hire, which isn't necessarily the case. So it worked. It backfired on both sides of that. But there was a lot of people who got passed over who should have had the jobs, who happened to be, white, straight, or male, or all three, and they were not allowed to have the jobs because they were the trifecta of terrible.
The trifecta of terrible. That sounds like a supervillain team. Three
all
of
in
us.
one.
Yeah, I mean, I just kick the stand here. Oh well, whatever. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, this is hard, because I don't think today, there's really any incentive for a lot of young men to look at what was a traditional life for them, right? You get married, you have kids, you work your career, you buy your house, like all these things for a lot of young men are just completely unattainable for a variety of reasons. The whole system, like I said, the whole system has been upended. And I'm not saying like, women get back in the kitchen and make me some pie or anything.
Yeah, you're too smart for that, because
it didn't go very well. But like, yeah, there was a time when, as a man, you could pretty much right out of high school go get a job someplace, know that you were going to have, if you're good at your job, you would have that job for many, many years, unless there's like some major economic, collapse or something. And you could afford to buy a house for your family. You could afford to feed your family, and your wife could, again, this makes me sound like a misogynist, but your wife could take care of the kids, take care of the house. That was kind of the way it worked for a long time.
There's a lot of women who want to do that. Like, yes. there's a lot of women who don't. There's a lot of women who want to go to work, and that's cool. It's completely fine. But there are a lot of women who want to stay home and take care of the kids, because childcare is super expensive, but they can't, because they can't afford to in the relationship. And there are dads that stay at home, and there's nothing wrong with stay-at-home dads either. There's nothing wrong with it.
So here's the thing. There is, I believe, in some case, resentment. And I think in some case, programming, because I think some women have been programmed to be like, well, no, you have to be a career woman.
Yes, that's true.
You're not good enough if you want to just have kids, even though, being a parent is like the most important job on the planet. Our entire society revolves around the family unit and having kids and raising kids.
They're deconstructing the family unit.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think it's happening. You can see it happening.
There's nothing wrong with anybody wanting to be a stay-at-home parent and anybody want to go to work, but it's the system set up that, people can't be. And I know for a fact there's a lot of women who want to stay home. There's a lot of women who can't. There's a lot of women who want to be married to somebody who, like, were partners, but they have definite roles, and now they call them trad wives and stuff like that.
Trad wives.
I think in some way, I mean, there's like regular women, and there's like the over the top trad wife,
like
type
Betty
situation.
Crocker,
right?
Wearing the pearls and the heels in the kitchen. Yeah,
you do you, fam. But I'm just like, I think majority of women are normal. You just only hear about the ones that aren't. And unfortunately, like you said, the training women to act this way. And you are told you're not good enough if you're just a mom. Trust me, I've been there. I've been told it before, because for years I was just a stay-at-home mom, and I felt terrible about myself.
You weren't just a stay-at-home mom. I mean,
I know, but I'm just saying people would look at you like that.
Yeah, but like, your job was more important than my job, because you raised our kids, and you raised our kids well. And
do you ever try taking two children to the grocery store when one's a baby and one's like 3 or 4, and the 3 or 4-year-olds throw himself on the floor and the baby screams because they weren't picked up, and then you're so frazzled that the poor nice man behind you unloaded your cart for you because you were ready to sit and cry? I've done that.
And I always felt bad, because you'd be like texting me, and I was at work, and I was like, I can't.
I know. I knew you couldn't.
but I mean, we were lucky enough, I guess, in some regard, and you definitely did help, financially. There were some times that, you would help me with, the comics work, and
well, sometimes you were stay-at-home dad, and I'm the one that went to
yeah,
work.
I mean, we kind of, flipped
And
it.
you're
You
a
were
team. You are
teaching
a
sometimes,
team.
and but like, I mean, I know that and I think some of it's again, I think women being indoctrinated to think, one, men are bad, but it's like, what's the point of getting married? Two, having a family is bad, because what about your career? And if you don't want to necessarily have a career, you want to put your career on hold for a family, well, that's bad, because you're saying that
you can't win. It's both men and women. You can't win.
You can't win. But there's also resentment. Like, I'm gonna tell you, and this is, not to get too much in the weeds, but like, I'll talk about my grandparents. So my grandfather I remember he got laid off when I was a kid. Now, my grandparents helped raise me. It was a long story, but so that's probably why I'm such an old head anyway. But I remember he got laid off, and my grandmother was incredibly, I believe she was resentful. Now, she was skilled. She actually worked for a hospital, and she did really well. I mean, she kept, getting promotions and all that stuff. So she was good at it. Right. But I think she was resentful that she had to go to work, because her generation, especially, it was like, you went to work if you chose to go to work. You did, or your kids were grown or whatever. You didn't go to work because you had to go to work. So I think there was some resentment there, and it did come up sometimes. Like, I felt like, and my grandfather felt like he was about 3 inches high sometimes.
Well, I was gonna say, I think there's a lot of unfair pressure put on men too, and the fact that on women as well, as like, if you're a stay-at-home mom, but on men, because it's like, you're supposed to take care of everything, and you're supposed to make sure it's all done, and you're supposed to do this and that and everything else, because you're the man and you're the head of the household. And I think it's unfair. So I can kind of understand when men are kind of like, hell no. I get it.
You look at all the stuff going on, and yeah, even Henry Cavill, like, God forbid, if you're a celebrity, a Hollywood celebrity, you're a prime target. And there are people out there that are going to just try to get in your pants so they can scream about it later. That's probably going to happen. Even if you're an e-celebrity, like, I'm seeing all these YouTubers and Twitch streamers and whatever blowing themselves up. I'm like, bitch, you're on public display, right? Like, you really need to watch yourself, because thank God we're married. And even if, we weren't together, I've seen enough that I'm like, yeah, just keep your hands to yourselves, whatever, because it's going to come up to bite you in the ass at some point. But even just, regular people, it can bite you in the ass, right?
Yeah, I know there was a kid in school, like around this area, and these girls were mad at him for something. So they accused him of doing something he didn't do. He lost his job. He got suspended from school. A bunch of stuff happened. And then later on in questioning, they admitted they just made the whole thing up because they were mad. And you know what? I don't even think anything happened to them. Like, this poor kid had damages on, and even if it turns out you're innocent, and they prove you innocent, that everybody already has it in their head that you're not. But those girls did something shitty, and no one's punishing them. And that I can totally understand it. Like, I fear for my son, in some ways, because I he's smart, and I don't think he'd let himself get in a situation like that, nor would he ever act like out of line. But you have to wonder, because what if it's girls, and because girls think that you wrong me, I'm going to take you down. And I've never seen like it. It's insane. It's like, to make up lies like that to ruin someone's life just because you're pissed. I'm like, really?
But yeah, every time you turn around, it's, men are problematic, toxic masculinity, just basic masculinity is being called toxic masculinity. And I'm not talking these posers that are like, you're only a real man if you, chomp on cigars and,
slap them on the ass and stuff like that.
Right. That's not what I'm talking about. But just men being men, like, you're not even allowed to be a man anymore. And that's sad. So these kids,
there's nothing wrong with being a man. As long as you're not like breaking laws or doing things that are disgusting or wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. And I think you're going to find most women are not against you.
Yeah, but I think even women aren't allowed to, like other countries, I guess you can like traditional men, you can actually want to date traditional men, but like here in the US, like there's something wrong. Like if you want a traditional man and a traditional family and all that stuff, like there's something wrong with you as a woman for wanting that.
I think it depends where you're at. Cause I'll tell you what, it maybe if you're in like certain, like, cities or like certain coasts or stuff like that, like you're in New York or LA or places like that, maybe not. But I think you're going to find the majority of down to earth women are not are wanting to be like, I just want to find the right guy and, you know, have a relationship and, you know, settle down, have a life together. You're going to find that most women are like that. But you only hear about the ones that aren't, you know. That's why it's so refreshing to see these women that are like getting in their friends' faces when they're like, well, don't you think you deserve that? And she's like, my boyfriend works hard and he does great. Like, I mean, he doesn't make a lot of money, but he takes care of me and he's good to me, and we're good together, and that's all we need. And then you know that there's more women like that than there are not.
Yeah, so they need to speak up.
They are, though, but they get silenced by the social media and media. All you hear is the screaming on there. But a lot of women, you're going to find, the majority, I think, of women are down to earth, rational women.
They need to look, if you really want to, man, if you really want to land a man, then you need to let them know that you're available for that. You know what I'm saying? Not that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you're down for a traditional relationship. And yeah, I think they're sort of being kept down, bullied to some extent too, because look at what happened with JoJo Siwa, right? I mean, she was like, oh, like everybody loved her. Like, oh, she's gay. This is great. Everybody, she's gay. Then she's like, no, actually, I kind of like dick now. And you know, the rainbow bows fell out of her hair and all that. And that was like a big deal. Like, oh my God, and now it's like, I guarantee you her career is probably going to take a hit, because that was her identity was.
That's just it. Because they're pushing narratives.
Right. And now she's like, oh, I've got a man. I'm happy with my man. And here I am in bed with my man. And, you know, we're doing man woman things. It's like, oh, we can't have that. I mean, geez, you know, in entertainment and publishing, I think part of the reason that, this is again in the weeds too, but, you know, we had an agent at one point, but we weren't trendy enough. Having a married couple, you know, with kids, working in YA literature, working in kids lit is not trendy enough. One's a teacher. You can't have that. No. You got to have some like 23-year-old
childless, you know, lesbian,
pansexual, whatever, who's never going to have kids writing children's books. You can't have parents who actually wrote children, have children write children's books. It's
still an issue. But I'm just like, look, I don't care if you like men or you like women or whatever. I mean, everybody's looking for that, you know, what you want. You do what you want to do. Some people are about their career. Some people don't want that. And that's completely cool. But what I'm saying is, I think it's ironic this person is writing this. They want people to be traditional. They want traditional roles to come back, but the traditional roles have been demonized. I think on both sides. They've been demonized by the media. They're trying to systematically, it does seem like, you know, you want the family units to be different. And there's nothing wrong with families that are different. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, a lesbian couple or a gay couple or whatever having children. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm sorry. You can get mad and you can disagree with me what you want. But the family unit, you know, traditional family unit, there's nothing wrong with that either. And they're going to tell you there's something wrong with it, and there isn't. So where have all the men gone? Well, maybe if you stop acting like psychotic bitches, you know, and you stop thinking that you're owed like all this money or the looks or whatever, and start looking for people that's actually a good person, that maybe somebody who meshes well with you, and they might not be perfect in every way, because no one's going to be, but like that's the perfect person for you, and you start like looking for that. What they say about like Truth About Cats and Dogs, that somebody could be really beautiful, but the more you know them, that you find that they're ugly, and somebody could be, you know, not as attractive, but the more you know them, they might be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. It's like that. People are so busy looking at looks and looking for superficial things that they aren't looking for real things.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
And dudes, don't give up. You know, really don't. But you have to be careful, though. I'm not gonna lie. You gotta be careful, because there's a lot of bitches, crazy ass bitches out there.
Crazy ass bitches.
There's a lot of crazy ass bitches.
Most of them have like huge social media followings. So yeah, I mean,
they're red flags. Run.
Oh, God. Yes. Don't go out with a girl who's had 100 dudes inside her, you know, as of yesterday, and bragged about
in one day.
In one day. You know, so I don't know. I mean, it's weird. I think we just need to, and I think social media just in general, I think we need to learn how to connect with people again, because that's one thing I'm seeing just in general, true. Men and women, especially Gen Z, Gen Alpha, especially like hell, half of Gen Alpha can't even read, but Gen Z especially, they can't connect. You know, we don't, like we used to go out with friends, physically go out, places with friends and friend groups. That's usually how you started your dating journey. Was you'd go out with a bunch of friends, and eventually you'd meet people maybe that you connected with, on a more than friendly level. And that's, that was just very normal. You'd go hang out at the mall, you'd go to parties, and kids just are not doing that now.
Everything's online and stuff.
Everything is online.
You don't know if people were real. It's just, it's just, there's so many different things. But anyway, we can really go off topic here. It is partly what this is about, and where it's a whole bunch of other stuff that isn't. But it's like, if you're women asking where men have gone, you have to ask why. And if you look into any type of research into the media, into social media, you'll find out real quick why men are running the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this one. I end with this one. Flopping Aces here says, New York Times asked men, where have you gone? Short answer, you told them they were toxic.
Yes.
You handed them a podcast and SSRI prescription. They left quietly and permanently.
Yes.
Yeah. Then the birth rates are also down too. Gee, I wonder if these are related. I wonder if these things are related.
I don't know.
Are we going to wrap it up?
Yep. Sorry, it went long.
It's okay. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.